There has been so much news the last few weeks. TCU bringing in a quarterback, among other players. TCU players getting drafted. So I'm bringing in reinforcements today. The very intelligent Alex Frank is next to me, and he's gonna help us today, kind of make sense of all this. That's coming up next on Lockdown Horned Frogs.
You are Locked On Horned Frogs, your daily podcast on the TCU Horned Frogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It is Locked On Horned Frogs, your team every day. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got over 600 subscribers yesterday, which is cool. So let's keep it going. We hit, our latest milestone. Today, Alex Frank is with us. If you've followed the show closely, you probably know Alex. But Alex is a TCU alum, a really sharp guy, really big time sports nerd. I hope you don't mind me saying that, Alex. Is that you take offense to that? Okay.
No.
Yeah, I'm a sports nerd too, so we're in good company here. But I wanted to start today with some quarterback talk. So I know from talking to you that you're excited about the Chandler Morris era starting here at TCU. I am as well. A lot of our listeners are. But TCU did bring in Chance Nolan, Oregon State quarterback. A couple of years ago, he threw for over 4,000 yards. That's a lot of experience. And I was surprised they were able to get, that type of player for what I assumed would be more of a backup role. But I wanted to ask you first, do you think there is actually going to be like a quarterback competition here in the fall, or is this just a depth piece behind Chandler Morris?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, just because I'm not there at practice, unfortunately.
Sure.
But I think it depends how he performs during the spring. Based on what we know from last year, Chandler is really good in 7-on-7. So it might look like has the job, but based on Nolan's experience and his time at Oregon State, I really don't think that he wouldn't have transferred if he didn't believe there was a shot to go for it. With that said, Morris's play style is like identical to Bryles, like very RPO heavy, options, QB draws, and sometimes just slinging it, play action. So it's very similar to Bryles in the way that Chandler plays. So I'm leaning with no, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, we definitely will. I mean, I find it hard to believe that he wouldn't be here if the coaching staff didn't at least leave the door somewhat open. I'm not saying they were like, hey, it's going to be an even playing field, but at the very least might have said, well, you come in and have a good camp, we'll see what happens. I think the uphill battle for him is going to be, I really feel like it's Chandler's job to lose. So he would have to have like an incredible fall camp. And I think you'd have to see some regression from Morris, which I don't anticipate that happening, but it's not totally out of their own possibility. Let's dig deeper on some other things you talked about, because I like your thoughts. Go ahead.
Like you said, when you were talking to John, right, last week, worst thing that happens is Chandler gets pushed to the max, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what we want if we want some semblance of, I don't know about you, I'd like to see double-digit wins. I don't know how realistic that is.
Sure.
I think 9 wins would be great. I think it's doable if the spring and summer goes well, but we'll have to see.
It's a good scenario, especially if he comes in with a little chip on his shoulder. Like if this is sort of like, why are you bringing someone else in? And not that he's going to handle it in a bad way, just sort of in a, okay, let me reaffirm and show again that I'm the dude. And he'll have his opportunity to do that. So I like what you said, though, about Chandler really excelling in kind of the RPO game, the accuracy, the ability to make those short and intermediate throws, which Max sometimes struggled on that, to be
Yeah.
frank. But he obviously made it forward.
No pun intended.
Yeah, no pun intended. You're right. What are you most excited about with either Chandler Morris or the new offensive system? What are you looking forward to in 2023 from this offense as they kind of change gears a little bit?
Yeah. I think people, when we were hiring a new OC, kind of underestimated what Bryles brings to the table a little bit. He he has Riley like production, and it should be exciting. Um, but it's different, right? Like we saw a bunch of explosive plays downfield, deep threat, QJ, um, just grabbing everything from Max or Darius Davis on jet sweeps. Those types of explosive plays are probably not going to be as common. I think you're going to see a lot of like play action should be huge just based off of the emphasis on RPOs. And then, yeah, short to intermediate is honestly great. I'm worried about the pace, honestly, a little bit. And don't get me wrong, we recruit a lot of really good athletes. I'm more worried about the O line, like getting gassed. Because if you played, like the conditioning is not the same for the O line at all. So that's a little concerning to me, but it's also good in a way because this is more of an NFL style offense than an air raid. So from that respect, it prepares our guys for the jump to the next level a lot better. Because if you watch Hurts play, he pretty much does exactly what Bryles would expect from a quarterback.
Yeah, no, they're doing great things in Philly, and I think we are seeing a lot more of that in the NFL, of borrowing some of those college concepts. And we will have to see how those big guys hold up. I think it's one of those things, as the year goes on, they'll probably be in much better condition to do that. But yeah, you might see some reps that aren't at 100%, because of the pace of the game and the way they're getting up and down the field. I want to ask Alex about some TCU players in the NFL draft in a second. I do briefly want to talk about Built Bar. Built Bar is the best protein bar around. If you're looking for a healthy option that also tastes good, Built Bar is the product to try. They are locally available now at Walmart. So at Walmart, you can walk in the pharmacy section, find a few of their flavors. You can also get specialty flavors at builtbar.com. Order your favorite today. They have a new peanut butter flavor coming out I'm excited about. Built Bar, good snack, good meal replacement option. If you're getting ready to do a workout, best tasting protein bar around, and typically only 180 calories, so they don't make you feel like you're just completely wrecking your diet when you eat one. Built Bar, proud sponsor of the Locked On Network. Okay, Alex. So I don't have it in front of me, but I feel like I can kind of just go off the top of my head here. Quentin Johnston is in LA with the Chargers. Steve Avila is in LA with the Rams. Darius Davis with the Chargers. Kendre Miller with the Saints. Travis Hodges Tomlinson with the Chargers. Hodges Tomlinson with the Rams. Duggan with the Chargers. D. Winters with the San Francisco 49ers. And I might be missing one player there, but I'll look here in a second. But I'll throw it to you here. Which player do you think landed in the best spot? Who is set up now for potentially the best run in the NFL moving forward?
Yeah, I don't like that question, and let me explain why. I don't know if you're saying like who is most NFL ready, because that's a different thing, right? Like
Yeah.
I would absolutely say Steve Avila, like
Yeah.
100%. Like he's gonna come in on day one and make an impact. he is just that dude. But yeah, to actually like dissect your question, I'd honestly say I'd really just say QJ. Like he's not gonna be the number one target on the team. He knows that, and they're probably gonna move. I mean, it should be interesting because they'll probably move Keenan into the slot. Keenan Allen, for those who don't know, and he gets to learn from Keenan Allen, which is huge. Um, like, I think most people would say he's a top 5 receiver in the league, like easily. That type of experience, and then Mike Williams as well. He gets to learn from. He is really raw, as we know. His body catching is not ideal,
Mhm.
and he's weird. Like every scout would agree that he's really weird as a player because he is so big, but he sucks at. I shouldn't say suck. That's rude. He is very raw at contested catches. It's not his game, but he has yak, like serious yak ability. He'll get
Yeah.
9+ yards on following a catch, which is ridiculous at his size and kind of unprecedented. And it's something that the Chargers don't currently have that he'll bring to the table. So I think that's really valuable. And I think learning behind those guys is going to make a huge difference in developing his game because he has monster potential. He really does.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and that was, I mean, that was the reason, even with some of the, I mean, underachieving might not be the right word. The pretty pedestrian numbers the first couple of years of his career in college, there were still a lot of people that were mocking him as a first or second round pick simply because you saw the frame, you saw the physical gifts, the potential. Dylan Horton was the guy that I forgot there. He went in round 4 to the Texans. Yeah, I guess what I was really asking was more about fit, which you hit on pretty well there. I think from a fit perspective, another guy that's in a good spot is Kendre Miller with the Saints. And I know he said, and I like this quote, but I saw he had a quote that he was like, I have a lot of respect for Alvin Kamara, but I'm coming for that number 1 spot.
That was bold.
Yeah, and I appreciate the competitiveness. It is bold. I think, though, ultimately he'll be, at least his rookie season, more of a change of pace back. Running backs in this league are kind of a dime a dozen, but I feel like Kendre is in a great spot to learn the position, learn some of the nuances of it, and also make an impact as someone who can have a completely different running style than what you see from the explosiveness of Kamara, more between the tackles, kind of getting tough yards. I feel like he'll be a big benefit for the Saints. One guy that surprised me, and I wanted to get your thoughts on it.
Sure.
We both talked about Darius Davis. Sort of, it was kind of a tough situation for him because he really had to run well. That was sort of his speed was what was carrying him. But he ended up going in round 4 to the Chargers, and it sounds like they have some ideas for him. I still think his main role is going to be a return game, but it sounds like they do have some ideas for him outside of that. But were you surprised that he went as early as he did on day 2?
No, and I know that might sound weird to some of the viewers, but let me put it into perspective. I used to run track. I was a sprinter, and the one thing that can't really be taught is athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have speed, like teams are going to want you. And the reality is, if you have a dude like Darius who is faster than anyone in the NFL, which has been verified by the Chargers, they just posted something against SMU. He had this ridiculous catch. He went 23.7 miles an hour, which blows Tyreek out of the water by like 0.2. Like you kind of have to take a chance on that dude, like just with that level of speed, right? So I think though, with the 4th rounder, you might see him not as much of a Cavante Turpin role, but you're going to see him also. And I think you'd agree with me. Like, they'll probably take him out for jet sweeps and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Try to really like spread their offense around, because Herbert loves to sling it. We know that. But, running those jet sweeps with a quick dude, game changer.
Yeah. No, it really is. And you're right. I mean, you can't, I should have known this. You can't teach the speed. You can't teach the athleticism. I just wasn't sure if there would be questions about, can we use this guy? Because, I mean, I think you're right. I think they will try to do that. It's just in the NFL, that's always a fun idea, but it's rarely put into practice
No, for
as
sure.
frequently as it is in college football.
For sure.
But I see what you're getting at. Okay, we're going to stay with the draft. I want to get go ahead, Alex. Do you have another thought on that?
Yeah, I do. I will say one thing that concerns me about him is same thing I thought about Zay Flowers, and that's he's 5'9", 170.
Mm-hmm.
It's not ideal. He's going to need to put on like 15 to 20 pounds of lean tissue to actually have the frame to take those hits, because he's going to get hit. And guys that are smaller, we know how durability works in the league. You can't play that way and just expect to play 5 to 10 years. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, no, I mean it'd be a tall task for sure. So we're gonna stay on the draft. We actually have kind of a fun, different topic than normal. I'm gonna throw it to Alex here in a minute to run down some different things. We'll take a quick break here on Locked On Horned Frogs. Okay, final segment. And so we were talking about TCU players that got drafted. And so I want to talk about which TCU player has the best chance to get drafted in the first or second round in 2024. But before we do that, Alex, I want to give you a chance, because you were telling me you've kind of been doing some work on this. Give me your top 5 players, in college football right now for the 2024 draft. What do you think that order is going to look like when we circle back a year from now and see how that all plays out?
Yeah. So I'm going to go by just overall player and not value the positions. Like,
Okay.
we know quarterback is overvalued. So I'm not going to go by that. I'm just going to go overall. So top 5, I'd say Michael Penix, Washington QB, I'd probably put at 5. Brock Bowers at 4. Look, I'll change 5 to Kool-Aid McKinstry on Alabama, and then 4, Brock Bowers, the guy who literally ran over all of our players for 50 minutes straight. And he's just ridiculous. And then I'd say Drake May on UNC, super undervalued. So I'd put him at 3. I mean, he was in Heisman talk as a sophomore.
Right.
And then 2, I'd say Caleb Williams at 2. Not number 1. Number 1 is that dude, and that's Marvin Harrison Jr. Anyone who takes issue with that can look up on YouTube and watch his highlights. I've never seen anything like that, and his game can't be put into words. He just does it all. Like, I've never seen a wide receiver like this besides Randy Moss coming out of college. Like, he is just ridiculous. Like, people don't understand how good he is. He can go deep threat, route running, contested catch, yak. He's 6'3", 40-inch vertical. Like, he's just does everything that can be asked of a wide receiver. He might have a higher ceiling than his dad, who is a Hall of Famer. He is that good. So,
Yeah, Marvin Harrison. I mean, he could play he could play in the NFL right now.
yeah.
He's a special talent, and you're right. I mean, Caleb Williams is going to go number 1 overall, barring some huge change in the next year. But that probably is the best player. I like that list. From a TCU perspective, is there a player, a prospect that you think has a good chance of going in the first round next season?
I think it depends on how the season goes and how we run the offense. I know we're not going to utilize that, and that's not necessarily true. I think we'll use the X, but not as much as the slot, just because we're deeper at slot this year. But I'd say take a look at JoJo Earl, see if because we know the potential is there, but see how the season goes. I'm sure he has aspirations to play in the league, and I'd also say just not first round. Jared Wiley on PFF, he has the 5th best returning production of any tight end. So it's pretty impressive, and he'll likely go to the league. So, and then JPR also, I know I'm picking on only offense dudes, but I have some question marks about the defense currently.
Sure.
But I would also say with defense, Josh Newton, for sure. And I'm forgetting his name. Bud Clark, maybe. And then the other corner, I always blank on his name.
The Florida transfer Avery Helm, I think he could have a shot to go, really high next year too. Well, those are some good names. Wiley is interesting because I wish they would have used him more last year. I think they're going to use the tight end a lot more this year in the offense, which will be fun to see.
Yeah, I think his size is also good.
Oh yeah. He's like 6'7". I mean, he's a freak from that perspective. He's Alex Frank, and we thank you for joining us today, Alex. This has been a fun conversation. We'll be back on Monday. It's been a fun week. If you missed any of the shows, check it out. You can do it on the YouTube channel or wherever it is you get your podcast. We're also on the SiriusXM app now, so that's a fun new thing. If you have the SiriusXM app and you want to check out Locked On Horned Frogs, it is available in the podcast feature. It is your team every day. We'll talk to you again soon.